In my mind, it would be amazing for a large corporation to come and buy Lost Trail. Who doesn't want to go to a ski area that's got a nice lodge and nice bathrooms and better facilities all the way around?
I think a lot of people, honestly, at least people that I talk to, because at a lot of local ski hills, people are super resistant to change.
Yeah.
They don't want those things because it comes with more people. It comes with different types of skiers now coming. It changes the crowd. You don't hear that from your guests? Wake and Wander, Episode 5. My guest today is Scott Grasser. Scott is the owner of Lost Trail Ski Area, located a couple hours from Missoula, Montana. I had the chance to meet Scott when I was in Montana last month, checking out some smaller independent ski areas, and I wanted to talk to him about what it was like to actually own and run a ski area. There's a lot of data out there about decreasing snowpack. The future of skiing sometimes is brought into question by the media. What is the reality of that? And how about all these big companies like Vail buying up the smaller ski areas? Scott's the only independent ski owner that I've ever met that was willing to go on the record and say he would like to get bought out. It's an answer that'll probably shock a lot of people, but let's hear his reasoning why and see if it makes sense. This podcast will be talking travel, talking to guests from all over the world. Here's episode 5. Cool. Well, thanks for having me in here. What a beautiful day. I got to say first, this is the first podcast I've ever done with ski boots on. So
Hey,
thank
that's
you.
cool.
Thank you for that opportunity. And this morning was just so gorgeous. I think I was saying to you before we came on, ski travel is so unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get when you're traveling. And I live in Colorado, came up here to Montana. When I left Colorado this past weekend, I was skiing on ice and no fresh snow at all, just a little bit of a struggle period, and come up here and end up with 4 or 5 inches today.
Yeah, today's totally magical with the clouds kind of clearing off and the 4 inches of unexpected snow that we had this morning to add to about the 4 feet of snow that we've had over the last week and a half. February is, I like to call Funbuary because that's typically when we get our big snow dumps. And yeah, it's a really good time. The daylight's longer. The weather is super harsh and crazy, and just a lot of people show up.
It's really an interesting segment of travel. I can only think of one other thing that would rival ski travel, and that's surfing, because you're intent on going somewhere and doing a certain activity, but you require certain conditions to do it. Hiking, backpacking, you can do it whether it's sunny, rainy. Skiing, you've bought the tickets months ahead of time, you've made plans to go somewhere, and then you show up and you get no snow. I think a lot of people have that hesitancy because of that. They're worried, what if I show up and the conditions are horrible and I've already spent all this money? But you guys don't get many, not really a tourist mountain here, I would say.
No, we've got the Indy Pass and the Powder Alliance folks roll through, but we might see on a high day maybe 50 Indy Pass people and 5 or 6 Powder Alliance people. So
Okay. We got the radio in the background. You're on patrol here. I guess this is the reality of what it's like to run a ski resort.
yeah, we wear many hats. I've been watching the weather all day, and we had some unexpected winds show up, and so we've got one of our lifts off right now just because of higher winds.
How did you come to own a ski resort?
Oh boy, my father purchased Lost Trail Ski Area in 1967 with a business partner of his, and they split ways in the mid 70s. It wasn't kind of the dream that my dad's business partner thought it might be. There was a lot of work, a lot of politics with the Forest Service, and Dad just loved all of that. He continued to run it, and my sister and I kind of came on board in about 1994 when I graduated high school, and I think we were just more expected really to be employees and work for Lost Trail or with Lost Trail as indentured servants the rest of our life. So, and here we are, 30 years later.
That must have been a cool childhood, though, having a father that owned a ski resort.
Yeah, I grew up in Portland, Oregon with my mom, and so we would come up, Judy and I, my sister would come up on spring breaks, Christmas breaks, summer breaks, and hang out here. And everybody, it was like having a bunch of babysitters. The lift operators watched out for us, the ski patrol watched out for us, and literally grew up with a lot of the people that are still staff members and patrollers and instructors.
I'd like to talk about what a day in the life is like because I think it's easy to romanticize running a ski resort. But as I've already witnessed, I mean, you're in this, just to set the scene for people, we're in a lodge. This is a very smaller ski area. You know, don't think about Vail or one of these bigger mountains with these huge lodges. We're in essentially a log cabin, I would describe it as. I don't know, maybe you can do better. But plywood ceilings. Above us, we can hear all the people stomping the snow off their ski boots coming in for lunch. And you have a very modest office here, albeit a beautiful view looking out over a couple of the lifts and the terrain. What is a day like for you? Are you getting 100 days of skiing a year, coming in the morning, taking some laps before you come into the office? What are you
No,
up to?
I wish I could say that, and my roles have changed over the years. You know, back in the '90s, late '90s, early 2000s, yeah, I would hop out in the lift line and um, go out skiing and do routes. And that was after having a full shift of grooming. I would run the grooming crew in the morning, so we'd be up here at 4 in the morning and run groomers or run snowplow to get the parking lot open. Because if we can't park them, we can't ski them. So the most important part of it was back in the day was getting that parking lot open. And yeah, I used to get a lot more ski time than I have now, just because there's just more office work that needs to be done, more decisions since we did our big expansion in the late '90s to mid 2005. That was kind of when we added chairs 3, 4, and 5, and the mountain's just a lot bigger than it used to be. It used to be about 800 skiable acres. Now we're 1,800 skiable acres, and
800 acres to 1,800. That's a huge increase.
it was a huge increase, and it was felt by my sister and I and our father at the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did we do? We, effectively doubled our skiing area, which meant we doubled our staff, doubled our patrol, and we didn't really see doubling the skier visits, kind of like we had projected, we'd hoped. Back in the early or late '90s, it was sitting 30,000 skier visits, and now it's taken a while, and now we're sitting at around 60, 62,000 skier visits. So it's taken quite a while for those numbers to build up, and as bad as COVID was, it really gave the ski industry a big bump, not just for Lost Trail, but really everybody.
60,000 per year.
Yeah, 60,000 per year.
How did COVID give the ski industry a bump?
I think it really gave people the understanding that we need to be outside more. We need to embrace nature. If we are in a building with a lot of other people, we're getting colds and getting flus, and some people got the COVID. And being out on those lift lines and being on the lift, you get as much fresh air as possible.
Yeah, I think I saw a set. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, 10% increase in visits since the pandemic for independent ski areas.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that
Yes,
too?
absolutely. And it didn't go away either. We worried about the COVID bump being a big spike, and then it dropping right away, and we didn't see that. We're still well above, even on our lowest year, which was last year. 2003, 2004 year was a very low snow year for all of western Montana, and um, we still were way above pre-pandemic numbers.
Even with the lower snow total.
Yeah,
Maybe people did just want to get outside.
they did, and I had some of the most fun I've ever had during the COVID, right? Because we were on the river more, we were just outside, and we saw people everywhere camping. People were camping up on the runs, up on the mountains up here, just getting away from people, and they're still doing it.
I think people in the American West had a lot different experience with COVID than people back east. I grew up back east, so a lot of my family's there. Washington, D.C., Philly, New York City area, friends there. their experience was so much different than mine living in Western Colorado. As you say, go for a hike, get away from people, camp. Meanwhile, they're trapped in their 700 square foot apartment with nowhere to go. It was a really different story out west, I think.
And it also varied county to county here in Montana, and I believe in Idaho as well. Some counties were like, we don't really believe this is even going on, so just carry on as normal business. Through the Montana Ski Area Association, we all kind of decided to work together as a group, and we do this quite often. And what's good for one seems to be really good for all of us. And so we all decided to mask up and just try to be as healthy and stick together as a group. And so it was really nice to have that all those legs to stand on with our local ski community, and everybody did really well with it.
How many members are in that group?
I believe there's like between 13 and 16 different ski areas in the Montana Ski Area Association.
I'm wondering about the relationship between ski areas in this era. We'll talk a little later about how bigger companies are buying up the smaller ones. Are you guys, those members, all pretty connected, even though you're competing for customers who come here to Montana or for locals to visit you? Or are you very collaborative? How is the relationship between you?
We collaborate a lot. Back in the day, just back up a little. There's several privately owned mountains in Montana that the kids have grown up in the mountain, kind of like Judy and I. And Discovery Ski Area, Blacktail Ski Area, Showdown, Great Divide. They're all owned by either members of the ski community in that area, or their family has just owned it for years and years. And it has changed. Our parents, they used to try to pull from each other the market, and try to, oh, this advertising works for everybody, right? And so we would share dollars through the Montana Ski Area Association, and we've kind of gotten away from that in the areas with all the areas of the Montana Ski Area Association, because we're all in the same business, and what's good for Discovery, where you were at the last couple of days, is good for Lost Trail. If they're teaching people to ski, if those people are having a great experience at Discovery or Showdown or Snowball, they're going to come to Lost Trail and check us out and bring the good, hopefully good attitudes and good things that they see there. They're going to share those with us, and we might learn a little bit. We all learn a lot from each other, and we're not taken away from anybody. Lost Trail's going to have a really good powder day. Showdown's going to have a really good powder day. And those groups of people just kind of move around, and there's plenty of business for all of us in this industry.
I think that's very true with skiers. When we go to one resort, even if we really like it, that almost makes you want to check out another one even more.
That's the beauty of skiing, right? It's a lifetime sport. It's something that you can do pretty much on any continent. Most countries, that have snow have great ski areas, and the kids that learn at Lost Trail can go to France, go to Switzerland, and skiing is skiing, and it's an amazingly free sport. Not free monetarily, but the sense that you have when you get up on the top of that mountain, you can just go anywhere. If you want to go left, you go left. You want to go right, you go right. You want to jump off that rock. That's it's all up to you what you want to do.
It's one of the sports that you can go the fastest too, under your own power.
Yes.
I always feel like a superhero cruising down, right?
Yeah.
Just ripping a groomer.
And I don't think people realize how fast you do go. It's really common to hit, 45, 55 miles an hour and
Definitely.
And not even think about it.
Not even think about it.
Yep.
But you're floating down. It's just almost like you're flying, and there's not many sports where you can simulate that
Right.
without a roller coaster or
Totally.
something like this.
And on a powder day when you can just point those skis straight down, and the weight of the snow is holding you back, but you're still like you're charging and going and having a great time.
Like
So
this
it is
morning.
amazing. Yeah, just like this morning. This morning was just a sleeper. They were calling for less than a half inch of snow, and when I got up here this morning, there was 4+ inches of just blower snow. I think the temperatures were under 10 degrees last night, so it was cold smoke, like people say.
And the lower the temperature, is that generally the lighter the snow will be?
Yeah, typically.
And if it's warmer, it just melts a little bit and gets more heavy.
It's just the higher density of snow when it's warmer. I think up here at Lost Trail, our optimal snow temperature is 15, 17 degrees, and it's just the quality of that snow and the sounds that it makes. It's just magic.
There's a romance to it for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I got to imagine a lot of your stress comes from watching the weather.
Yeah, in the beginning of the year, is the snow going to come? And on your busiest weekends, we're rolling into President's Day weekend next week, and fortunately, we're open Thursday through Monday, and Monday night's temperatures are supposed to be like -12, and so it's like, oh boy, is it going to warm up before our biggest weekend of the year, because we rely on those big weekends to bring in the capital to help us do improvements during the summer. And, we're only making money 80 days a year. And there's a lot more days out there. The rest of the days, you're hemorrhaging the money to make the improvements.
You're only open 80 days a year, or that's your only profit days?
We're only open 80 days. I would say that we've got more profit days, obviously, because we can sell season passes 365 days a year if we want. But June to August, people aren't thinking about skiing. They're thinking about rafting and gardening and mountain biking, as they should be.
Right. So when you approach those weekends, how do you deal with that stress? Do you check the weather a lot? Or are you at this point just, hey, whatever happens, happens? Do you have a ritual you go through of some kind?
Whatever happens, happens. I can't control the weather. We don't make snow. It literally is whatever happens, happens. Do I check the weather 50 times a day? Absolutely. I have it up on my computer right now. Like I said earlier, we've got a chair closed today, chair 4. It's winded out. And, so I try to watch those patterns and see when the storms are going to begin and going to end. And, hopefully we can get that chair 4 back up and rolling this afternoon so that people can enjoy it.
How has this year been snow-wise?
It's been a great year, absolutely great year. I believe we've got just shy of 200 inches, so accumulated inches so far this season, and we typically sit in the 3 to sometimes upwards of 400 inches a year. So we're really fortunate here at Lost Trail. I call it river effect snow. Some places get lake effect snow. We've got the super warm Salmon Valley with the Salmon River over there, and it kind of seeds the clouds with that moist air, and then it converges with the super cold air from the Big Hole Valley, which is just to the east of Lost Trail, and it just precipitates out this beautiful dry snow and lets us have a little bit of that warm weather and a little bit of that cold weather and keeps our temperatures like in the between 10 and 25 degrees most of the season.
I didn't realize how close we were to Idaho, and in fact when you pull into your parking lot, if you look one way you see a sign that says welcome to Idaho, and if you look the other way, a sign that says welcome to Montana.
Yep. Our business is all done in Montana, but if you look at our ski patrol shack, the center of the door all the way through the building is right on the line of Montana and Idaho. Pretty unique.
That is very unique. I don't think I've been to a ski resort that straddled state lines before.
We've got another one in Montana. Lookout Pass is another one that sits on top of the Montana-Idaho border.
I wanted to read you some things about snowpack because I was nerding out the other night, and I'm curious what your input is. So this article is from this year, and it's talking about how our winters are changing. And they did a study between 1955 to 2022, and they studied the month of April, so after the winter would be mostly over. And they found that snowpack in the western United States declined by about 23%, and that the snowpack season has shortened by 18 days on average. They also found that April snowpack in the western United States declined at 93% of the sites they measured in the American West. As the owner of a ski resort, how does that make you feel?
Weather is weather, and we can crunch numbers, like what you're reading. I've seen April with 5-6 feet of snow that just comes, and other Aprils only have a couple feet of snow comes, so I don't know. That's a tough one without really digging into the nuts and bolts of it. I know that when my father Bill purchased Chair One and Chair Two, he ordered those chairlifts with an extra 10 feet of tower, just uh, so that they could accommodate the snowpack from back in the day. And those two lifts are kind of tall. If we ever replace those lifts, which we do plan on in the future, they'll be a little shorter to the ground because we don't get those crazy winters with 400, 500 inches of snow. Um, but we get adequate snow, and yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're still getting enough snow for the ski industry to operate. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just wondering, looking forward to the next 10, 15, 20 years, do you worry at all, or is it a business you feel comfortable staying in? Do you find that other people you know who own ski resorts are starting to get worried? You already mentioned there's some in Montana that open some years and don't open the others. I'm guessing your location matters a lot to where the weather comes through.
Yep, yep. I'm not worried. Really not worried. I don't worry about not having enough snow to operate. I think our latest opening ever was like just after Christmas, and that was maybe back in the 80s, before I was even really thinking about what snowpack was, or why we needed it. Yeah, if I were going to pass this business on to my family members, I wouldn't have any worry.
I wonder if I find this in Colorado a lot that we're very reactionary. So one year we don't have good snow, everybody panics and says, "Look, see, it's the end of the world. Skiing's going to dry up." All the media write headlines about how this or that, and then the next year you have a record year. Like in Colorado, I remember 3, 4 years ago it was just horrible, and then the next 2 years were bananas. Had some of the best snowfall we've had at my local mountain, Powderhorn, and then last year, or excuse me, so far this year it's been a little light, but March is the snowiest month in Colorado, so you never know how it's going to end up.
Yeah, we all were sitting around the spring meeting at the Montana Ski Association, like, what are we going to do this winter? And everybody's like, well, we're investing in more snowmaking, or we're upgrading our piping, or we're doing more tree mitigation, cutting trees. We do a lot of that anyway, just to be prepared for opening as early as possible. The enthusiasm in September, October, and November is all we can think about is snow, and what gear we're going to buy. And it's time to get some new skis or new boots. And so the earlier we can get open, the better, So we just naturally micro groom our beginner and intermediate ski slopes so that we all can get open earlier.
How come you don't make snow?
Just have never needed to. And so it's a heck of an expense. Like it would consume probably a third of what the profits that come in, and it just wouldn't make sense for Lost Trail to have to make snow.
It's one third of the budget.
It would be, from what I understand, especially now with the prices of everything have gone up. Steel prices, just like lift prices, all that stuff has gone up exponentially over the last 8 years.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was wondering about that. Lift tickets go up every single year, and at my local mountain, they can go up pretty significantly, especially season passes. But we don't necessarily see a lot of changes or upgrades to the ski area. So I've always wondered, is it just rising costs in the industry that you guys are dealing with? What are some of your biggest expenses, and how does that unfold on your side?
A lot of people, ask that question. Why do we have to pay more? What are we getting if we are paying you more? And a lot of things, a lot of the projects ski areas do, the public doesn't even know about. Take Chair 3, for instance. We put Chair 3 in 1997, 98, and we just repowered it with a drive system. Does it make that lift any faster? No. Does it make it more reliable? Absolutely. And so people don't really take into consideration that stuff. This year we're investing in RFID, and that's going to be a uh, direct to lift system where you're not going to be standing in the lift line or in the season pass line. So people are really going to understand the few dollars that we go up this year, because they're going to get more, right? They're getting that direct to lift, so they'll see that changes. But when I'm changing windows in the lodge, or putting new carpet in, or changing toilets to the newer upgraded lower flow, people really don't see that, and they don't understand that there's a lot of dollars that get turned into those little items that you just don't know about.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I asked the question, because I've always been curious myself.
Yeah.
I'm assuming lift maintenance is a big one.
Lift maintenance is a big one. It's a big one, especially now that we are in that $62,000, or excuse me, the 62,000 skier visit range. The lifts are running 100% loaded. When they used to run 50% to 60% loaded. So there's a lot more wear and tear when you start increasing those numbers, in days of use.
And maintenance is so important because if it breaks down in the middle of the season, like happened at my local mountain last year, 2 weeks in March, they were shut down. It's devastating.
Absolutely. We just had a gearbox failure on chair two, one of our prime movers at Lost Trail. It went down January 6th, and we just got it back up and running a week ago. So we were down 3 weeks with that lift, and fortunately, we were able to get a direct replacement gearbox, brand new from the manufacturer. And once it finally came across the country from South Carolina during the biggest snowstorm in the southern states, we were able to slam it in, and away we go. Everybody's super stoked and happy that we have such an amazing lift staff, or lift maintenance staff, that can do those sort of projects.
I think it's really cool that you have your lifts name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very different from anywhere else I've seen. It's also neat that you still use the tags, the ski pass tags, where you have the metal thing that you fold the sticker on. That's very unique. Most people have gone to the RFID already. So you're saying you're making that switch now?
Making that switch. So the sticky ticket and wicket are a novelty anymore, and a lot of people don't even know how to put them on, which is mind-boggling to me, because that's how I grew up.
Right, same. When I grew up skiing, and you would leave them on your jacket to show where you had been, and sort of like, like a sticker back then, where you would like, oh yeah, I've been here, I've been there. Like people do put on their water bottles, or
Yep.
bumper stickers now.
Yep.
Why are you making the change?
Um, One of the biggest reasons we're making the change is so we can crunch the data that comes from how many people are on the mountain, how many people are skiing in certain areas. Our marketing can be adjusted to where people ski. But another big reason, and one of the biggest reasons, is the convenience to our season pass holders. We have always made our season pass holders come to a ticket window and get that physical sticky ticket and wicket every day, so that we can account for that. Thursday, we had our biggest Thursday in history, with, what do we have, 1,585 people on the mountain, and 500 of those were season pass holders. And it just confirmed it right there, seeing this 500 people line, and then they have to go get in another lift line to go ski. It's like, we need to do something so that people feel like they're getting their money's worth buying a season pass. And our season pass prices are, ridiculously cheap when we do our spring season pass sale. And I think we're $475 or something like that was our last year's season pass price. And I mean, you're talking 8 days of skiing. Where can you go? What recreational opportunity can you do for under $10 an hour? You can't go golfing for that. You can't go to Top Golf, for under that. It's just amazing that we still can charge low prices, make a profit, buy snowcats, replace lifts, gearboxes, things like that, for less than $10 an hour.
So you would argue, a lot of people think that skiing is an expensive sport. because you got to get the gear. It's a high barrier to entry, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
But you're making an argument if you're going to go and get the season pass, you really can get a deal out of it, especially if you already own your gear and you're going multiple years in a row. It becomes a rather affordable. It's really just the barrier to entry, I would guess, or people that are only coming a couple of days and have to pay the full lift ticket.
We've got a few products out there. We've got our 10-day pass. It's transferable. It used to be transferable year to year. We've kind of stopped that just because of it's kind of more messy than it's worth. But you're burning up a day ticket if you get a punch off of your 10-day pass and the weather goes to heck halfway through the day, or you're just not feeling it. You've burned up one of those days, and so you're more inclined to stay and grunt it out through in kind of the crappy weather, and you might be subjecting yourself to an injury when you're not really feeling it. Where the season pass, you can come up and make a run, make 2 runs, grab a burger, and go home. And you could do that day after day after day. We've got a couple gentlemen that have been coming here ever since I was a wee little kid that show up at 2 o'clock and make 4 runs in the afternoon, and that keeps them going. That gives them a purpose and a need to get up every day, drive up here 50 miles, and it keeps them healthy and gets them that fresh air out on the lifts. And, they might make 1 or 2 runs, but hey, they're out there doing it more than I am.
Did you say before Thursday was your busiest Thursday ever?
Yeah, busiest Thursday, non-holiday Thursday ever, yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
The powder snow. We were in a crazy storm cycle here in western Montana, where I believe we received around 4 feet total, including today's amount. But last weekend, I think our numbers were like 28 inches. We went into Monday, we got another 6 inches, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, we're closed. So Lost Trail is a true powder mountain where you have a couple days where the powder is able to be accumulated with nobody skiing on it. And we did quite a bit of advertising to be like, hey, we're having some epic conditions, and we only ended up with 10 new inches of snow during those couple days, but with all that snow, the untouched snow, and then just the way it all lined out with people working from home these days, we just got crushed, and it was amazing to see all those people. And it was a real unique group of skiers. You didn't see them in the lodge buying hamburgers. You saw them in the lodge buying beer at the end of the day, but they were out on the runs, out in the lift lines, just crushing it, just going for it. They were all upper intermediate expert skiers, and it was just a cool demographic.
What led you to take that strategy to close certain days of the week and have that build up? Was it to create that demand on that Thursday and let the snow accumulate, or is it more of an operational cost thing?
Yeah, I believe it was just an operational cost. It's something that our dad did years ago. We used to run Thursday through Sunday. We added Mondays 4 years ago to, just add another day, hopefully bring in some more revenue. And I don't see us going away from it for a while. I don't want to work 7 days. I already work 7 days a week. I don't want to work any more than that, right? And I don't want my staff to have to work any more than they already are. And we don't have a ton of employee base in the area, and so we're lucky. For the last 2 years that we've had 100% employment right at day one, where we're not scrambling to find employees partway through the year.
I see both sides of that strategy. On one hand, for you, it must be really good to build that demand for the Thursday. You get snow on a Tuesday, the Wednesday it's building, it's getting there, and everyone's excited and come out. As a skier, if I had a season pass and it was dumping on Tuesday, I'd be like, I want to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, it could be a double-edged sword for sure, especially in March, right? When you have those longer days, those warmer temperatures, and it snows 12 inches on Monday night, and it's like, oh no, just sun, stay away, clouds, keep that sun cloaked, please, so that it doesn't destroy the snow. And
by Thursday.
yeah, it's a gamble that we play for sure.
More weather anxiety.
Yeah, more weather anxiety.
Just what you like. Do you ever, when it's closed on a Wednesday, just start up the lift and go up and take some runs?
Nope,
Keep it untouched.
that's untouched. That's for the people. I don't even hop in front of the lift line. I'm not interested in people thinking that the owners are elite and should be out there poaching the runs. It's for the people. It's for the skiers and the season pass holders.
In Colorado, we always assume that Ski Patrol doesn't open a run just because they want to keep it for themselves. So that's what we always.
We have educated our ski patrol over the years that I know if they are coming down and poaching lines. Like,
Can't
please
do it. Guest
don't
sees
do
you
that.
do it. You're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and I sit here, like you said, I've got a great view, and from my sister's office, she's got a great view, and we know that if they're out there trying to poach some lines, we figure it out, and they come to the office and apologize, like, no, I was actually trying to, work on a rope line, and I just kind of it overtook me, and I had to take a couple of turns,
Understandable.
Totally understandable. And you always have to laugh it off, right?
Totally. How have guests, like longtime skiers who have come here, how have they reacted to changes? Now, I got to say, I think doing what you're going to do for the season pass holders, the RFID, if I were a season pass holder somewhere and I had to wait in a long line to get my day ticket, it would drive me nuts. So I feel like that's an upgrade that everyone's going to love.
I
But
do too.
as we're seeing with other small ski resorts that make improvements, sometimes there's this mentality like we don't want things to change. We don't want to become Vail, is a lot of things we hear in Colorado. And people are resistant to it because they want the mountain to stay local. How do you find your customer base reacts to those things?
They want to keep it the best kept secret in Montana. They don't want us to bring in more skiers. They don't like to see us with 60,000, and my goal in the next few years is to maybe have 70,000, 75,000. And I just politely remind them that those skier dollars drive better facilities, better equipment, better grooming, better lifts. It helps in the big picture, and we have to have more skiers to make it work.
As an outdoorsman, I get it. I want everybody to recreate in the outdoors, just not where I do it, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of people feel that way. We go out to get away from people. So I totally get that mentality. However, as the owner, I would probably say, cool, would you like to buy it and run it that way and not grow your business? Because how else are we going to do it here, right? So that must be a complicated conversation for you.
It is complicated, but I know most of our season pass holders by name, and they see me upstairs and I talk to them, and I politely inform them what needs to happen.
Talk to me a little bit about the importance of staying independent.
It is. It's very, very important to stay independent.
And I don't know if you need to answer that, you can, for sure.
Is there a way to pause for a minute?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can pause. Let's take a pause. And we're back. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this idea of the independent ski resorts versus now the bigger corporations that are coming in. I was reading that from 2017 to 2019, 56 ski areas in North America changed hands in that 3-year period. But 2024, last year, there was none, or very close to zero. So it seems like we went through, leading up to the pandemic, a little bit of a build-up, and maybe the consolidation is on hold now because of the pandemic or whatever it is. But first off, I'm just curious, like, what do you think of these bigger companies that are buying up all these resorts? What is the purpose of that? Are they just growing business? Is there some benefit to the ski industry? How should the normal person think about that?
In my mind, it would be amazing for a large corporation to come and buy Lost Trail because they could just slam in new lift infrastructure, build new lodges, the training protocol for lift operators, ski patrol, is already a proven science. But But as we saw this year, sometimes those bigger guys don't take care of their people like us smaller ski areas do. I grew up with these people, and so I want them to make as much money as I can afford to pay them so that they can prosper and drive good vehicles and buy rafts and boats and recreate, and so I see a huge benefit in treating your people well.
And what are you referring to when you say we saw this year?
With the debacle with the ski patrol down at Park City in the whole Vale.
That's right, they had a strike.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to think that they didn't see that coming. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and if your patrol or your ski school or your lift maintenance people aren't happy, that there is your weakest link, and you've got to keep everybody happy in this day and age so that your customers, which is the most important, people on the mountain, can do what they planned on doing.
Now, when you say that it would be great if a big company would come and buy Lost Trail, are you being genuine when you say that?
Well, it's for Lost Trail Ski Area to replace Chair One. We built Chair One in 1971, and that cost us $350,000. To replace that lift today is $3.5 million. And that would be replacing it with a fixed grip quad. It would be essentially identical. There'd be 60 chairs. It would start at the same place and it would end at the same place. But that's what we talk about when we say the cost of goods have gone up so much.
So you can't really afford those capital improvements now, but if you had some company backing you to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Lost Trail that would crush every little bit of cash flow that we had. We would have to find financial backers or go to a bank, and I've looked at it, and to replace that lift, it was 2 years ago. I went to our bank. We've got a great rapport with them. We've been with that bank since I think that lift went in the 70s. And, to replace that lift, $3.5 million lift, to get a loan for 30 years, it was still 8%, and that, however they do the math, that adds another like $3.2 million onto that lift. And so there you would sit and have a $6-7 million lift that is just one of 5 lifts that will need to be or should be replaced in the next 10 to 15 years. Can we keep rebuilding these lifts? Absolutely. But if we're going to see more numbers, more skiers at Lost Trail, more revenue, we need to start thinking about replacing lifts.
Have you ever been offered to be bought out?
Oh yeah, you have tire kickers and yahoos, as other people call them, in the around here that they think it's really romantic, and then you're like, hey, this is a price that we want, and they're like, well, do you come with that? It's like, yeah, I'd stay on for a couple of years and help you all run it, but a person needs to find another Judy Grasser or another Scott Grasser to sit in these seats and make the big decisions that need to be made, and those people are pretty pricey. Mountain managers or general managers make quite a bit in this industry.
So those are some of the benefits, it sounds like, of the acquisitions from a bigger company like Vail, where they're going to come in and put money towards the actual skiing of it in terms of upgrading lifts, making it faster to get to the top, more access points, like you guys did. You more than doubled your acreage some time ago. Companies like that make that easier. Also, what comes with that is a lot of fanfare, where they're focusing now on not just the skiing, but the user experience. So making lodges that are really nice, shops, restaurants, bars, après scenes, things like this. Do you see those as a benefit to the ski industry?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Who doesn't want to go to a ski area that's got a nice lodge and nice bathrooms and better facilities all the way around?
I think a lot of people, honestly, at least people that I talk to, because at a lot of local ski hills, people are super resistant to change.
Yeah.
They don't want those things because it comes with more people. It comes with different types of skiers now coming. It changes the crowd. You don't hear that from your guests?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We do. We hear that a little bit, but they also see that we can only keep these lifts running for so long. You know, we have little shutdowns, a bigger lift, heavier chairs. We could have kept running chair 4 all day. We don't have to worry so much about closing it down or watching the this wind when it hits 28 miles an hour with a heavier chair. You can run them in a little heavier winds, and there's a certain amount of people that are fine with being on a lift and it blowing 50, and they just want to get to the top and go back down and do it again.
You guys were recently on NPR,
Yes.
which is really cool, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations. And it was just talking about how recently independent ski resorts have seen this increase in influx of visitors, and the recent cold spell across North America brought snow, which was good. And there was one quote here from, I believe it was the reporter. I'm curious what you think of this. He said, "It's everyone's fear that Lost Trail could one day be bought or the public lands around it sold and closed off."
I just don't see that happening.
Well, it's interesting what you said, and I just want to converse about this a little bit. The fear that it could close could be, or be sold, could be two reasons. You could have the fear that someone like Vail is going to come in and just change it into something that it's not, and they're not going to like it anymore, and now the locals are like, that place is dead to me. But there's also the fear that if your lifts broke down, you wouldn't be able to afford to replace them, and now the area has to shut down because there's not enough funding, right? So it's kind of a tough line to walk
Right.
there.
It is. That gearbox Chair 2 this year, I feel if this was owned by a corporation, you know, be it, doesn't even have to be a big corporation, they would have been able to get that gearbox here much quicker. You know, I couldn't just hop on an airplane, go to South Carolina, rent a U-Haul, and keep this ski area running, you know, and bring that gearbox back at the same time. And I'm not going to put one of my staff members driving across the country. That's a huge risk to their life too, you know, especially when it's the biggest snowstorm in 200 years. As far as somebody buying Lost Trail and closing it, I couldn't see that happening. I think the customers would there'd just be a crazy uprise, and the Forest Service. The Forest Service sees how big of an asset that Lost Trail is to the community, and they really want to see us always succeed.
One of the other big benefits, I think, of the bigger corporations is just the size of the mountains they can create. Like Big Sky here in Montana, say what you want about the lift lines or the luxury feel of it, it has a gigantic mountain that you can really access via a lot of infrastructure and lifts. So that's kind of nice too.
I also don't think that people would stop coming. Have we seen people stop going to the ski areas in Colorado that have been bought by Vail? No, they just complain more. You know, and they're not. It's not that they're stopping. Yeah. They have so many more mountains at their disposal on their whatever Icon or Epic Pass. You know, they can go to a bunch of different mountains. So they might complain, but they're still going to keep coming.
Yeah, actually, to your point, I wrote this down. So the Epic Pass this year was $982, but that gives you access to every Vail resort, including overseas. The Icon Pass was about $1,200, a little more, but that gives you unlimited access to 17 resorts and up to 7 days at 42 other resorts, including places in Switzerland, Australia, Japan, Austria. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, how can you argue that's not pro skiing? It is totally pro skiing. You know, it gives you that access to go wherever you really want. You know, go on that vacation somewhere.
Do you feel all independent ski hills share your opinion of this?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Some of my best friends in the industry, you know, like I'm sure you chatted with CJ Pritchard yesterday. He will keep it in his family forever. and I love that. I think that's great. That's magic.
What are the arguments you hear from them?
God, they just have no reason to stop. They just love it so much, and they have just family members. They've got multiple family or multiple ski areas in their family. It's in their blood, and they just love it. They make a great amount of money. They're a little bit bigger than Lost Trail, and they have a bigger market. They get more ski areas, more skiers, and a bigger employee base.
I guess the biggest downfall would be lift ticket price. So, for example, in this NPR article, Big Sky Resort, you guys were $68 here. Big Sky Resort was $272 per
Right,
day.
right.
Yikes!
Yeah, yikes.
That's a
They
big
got a
difference.
But on a windy day, they've got heated seats and they've got a tram all the way to the top of Lone Peak. And I mean, you can't, you're getting what you pay for.
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, you can come here 4 times for
Yep.
one day there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what we want. We want people to be able to afford it. Judy and I don't want to raise we, we argue and arm wrestle about raising our prices when we do, just because we want to keep it affordable. If kids can't come skiing, that's a shame. And you never want to turn away anybody who wants to learn to ski. And Showdown Ski Area actually has that right on their website. George Willett was another genius in the industry, and they're out Nyhart, Montana, and really good friends of ours. But it states right on their website, like, we will not turn anybody away from skiing if they can't afford it. And that's amazing. And neither would we. People just need to come and ask us, and we will make it happen for them if they can't buy a pass, or if they want to buy a season pass and they want to pay $100 over 4 months. Just come talk to me. We'll make it happen.
You would work with them on that.
Oh, absolutely. Why not?
Well,
'Cause
I think a lot of people wouldn't.
Well,
Like the bigger companies wouldn't.
right, and that is the problem with some of those bigger companies, for sure.
Yeah, that's an important thing you bring up, because for grown adults like us, okay, we love skiing. We may pay for a big day at Big Sky. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll get an Icon Pass. We have these options. It's great. But for someone who is just getting into skiing, there could be a pretty high barrier to entry. I think that's the fear for a lot of people, that as there's less independent ski resorts that have a ticket for $68, or like my local ski hill, where if you buy a season pass, they'll give you some free lessons.
Yeah.
Right? Programs like that are really good. Once you lose that, how do you maintain the next generation of skiers coming in?
Right.
Mom and dad working 2 jobs, can't afford to put their kids through lessons. One of my buddies in Colorado just told me it's like $300 to $400 a day to put kids in ski school
Wow.
in some mountains, which
Wow.
is just
We have a huge school program, usually on, let's see, Thursdays and Fridays. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 ski school kids, ranging from 5th grade to seniors in high school, and that is the most important program we have. We don't make any money on it. We probably try. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a really ridiculously low amount to get these people up on the mountain. They get rentals. They get an hour to 2 hours, however the school sets it up, of lessons with top tier PSI certified instructors, and that is what's important. Is to keep this sport alive. Lost Trail, all the small ski areas in Montana, we are the feeder, we are the teachers in the industry, and then people go out and in college and early life, they go to the bigger resorts and they do their thing there. But we see a lot of those folks coming back here to these smaller mountains to learn how to ski, and we can't let that die.
I'm starting to see it as the independent, or these ski schools where you have families that come to put their kids through it. You have local people that just, they want to get out, they want something affordable, it's their weekend hobby. But the Big Skies of the world, the Vales, these are more destinations.
Yep.
Where you're going to take a trip for a week or a couple of days to go, and it's almost like going to a country. You're like, oh, let's go check out Vail,
Yep.
Aspen, Big Sky, these names that are just iconic in the industry. And they're not necessarily set up to do what you're doing.
More of a daycare situation there, where go, they take this vacation, they plop their kids in a ski school daycare program, and then they go off and do their thing.
Sure. Or grandma can come and sit in the lobby, or mom can come and sit at the bar,
Yep.
or in their shops, and there's a little village. And, oh, they have tubing, too, for the 3-year-old to do, and they have snowshoeing, and they have the sled that goes up to the little hut for dinner that night. They just have more activities. It's
Yep.
more of like, hey, we're just a full-service country. And, yeah, we have skiing, too,
It's an amusement park.
a little bit.
Yeah,
A little bit.
sometimes.
But it's just like so complicated because they have some of the best terrain too in the world.
True.
That these places operate.
Yep.
So I don't know what the future holds. I'm glad to hear your opinion. In fact, I'm a bit surprised by it because I would assume that you would have been vigorously against the corporate takeovers of these areas.
It just all depends on the corporation. Not all corporations are built the same. You know, there's fails. There's a lot of different ones out there. So
Your biggest feeder city is Missoula?
yeah, the Bitter Valley in Missoula, I would say, is our biggest population comes from there.
So I think it's really cool. I flew into Missoula, which for some reason I was picturing it as a little bit bigger city, having only been to Bozeman, which has really expanded. Bozeman seems like all the rage right now.
Los Angeles.
Nice, Los Angeles. Everybody wants to move there. Everyone thinks that's the hot spot in Montana. Missoula's cool because it's a college town, very reasonable. Just low-rise buildings, no high-rise, very small town-y. And then there's the ski resort in Missoula, Snowball,
Yep.
right? And that's its own story,
Yeah.
I think. Right?
Locals mountain, the locals love it.
Somebody was telling me about that. Yeah, so you could do that, and then essentially a 2-hour loop south-ish, you can hit a bunch of these independent ski resorts. So
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong, it would make for a great ski road trip for someone flying into Missoula. Would you have any recommendations for that?
Oh yeah,
Obviously,
absolutely.
yeah.
People should do it. People should take advantage of skiing Lost Trail, skiing Snowball, Lookout Pass, Blacktail, Discovery. I can't say enough about our local partner mountains in Montana. Not only are they really good friends, but they have a great product. Everybody says a really good product out there in Montana.
Is there one pass you can get to do them all, or do you have to buy
No.
individually?
Yeah, you kind of have to buy them individually, and we've kind of kept it that way. We've dabbled a little bit in doing a shared pass, and we all just think differently. Each mountain is a little different, and so it's best that we just say, hey, Discovery's great, Maverick's great. Go try them out.
Well, that's the fun thing about the independent vibe, because even though the terrain is different at a lot of the bigger ones that are owned, you kind of get the same vibes at all of them. They're run in a corporate way. They're run in a particular way. A lot of their staff are brought in from South America on different programs. Here, when I was skiing with one of your boys this morning, he was like, oh, yeah, that lift guy there, he's been here 20 years at the top of Chair 4. And the guy that was with me was like, yeah, I've been here since 1999 or whatever it was. And it just seems like people that come here really stick around, and that just grows the individual personality of the place.
Yeah.
And as an independent owner, do you give I'm sure you have some standard operating procedure, but you give a lot of leeway to the personality, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. We took a little pause in this podcast to talk to the eye in the sky, Lyle Mills at the top of Chair 4. I put a lot of trust and faith in what he has seen over his 20 years here at Lost Trail, and I depend on him. He had a distributor go bad on his car earlier this year, and we towed it up the pass, stuck it in our shop, replaced his distributor because I didn't want him to take off, a day, because he is such a wealth of knowledge and we rely on him. So we take care of our people. They take care of us.
So what are you going to do the rest of the day?
The rest of the day, I don't know. Pretty much get prepared and ready for tomorrow.
You're not going to take some runs?
I'm probably not going to take any runs today.
How many days have you gotten in this year?
Unfortunately, I've only got a couple days, partial days of skiing. I'm nursing a bad ankle, and so that kind of prevents me from getting out there as much as I would like to.
Ski injury?
I think more a life injury, just walking around on unstable slopes, summers, doing run maintenance, lift maintenance, and just generally beating myself up working up here at Lost Trail.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that the owner is focused on the operations and not out there stealing all the powder before the run's open. But thank you so much, Scott, for taking some time to sit down with me.
Absolutely appreciated it.
What do we got? 2:30. I got some time for some runs.
Yeah, you need to get out there and go play.
I'm going to get back out there. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed it, you may enjoy the previous episode, Antarctica on a Budget, and why it's easier to visit all 7 continents than all 8 Hawaiian islands. It's a very long title, but a really great episode with John Holman, some awesome advice on traveling to Antarctica and Hawaii. You also may enjoy our next episode. We're going to head to Florida, to St. Pete. It's a city that has changed a lot in the last 10 years, and it seems to be on the cusp of something really special, which is a great time to visit a place just as it's on that cusp. So we'll share more details about that. In the meantime, you can find me online at Wake and Wander Will. See you next week.
Wide world. Yes, now I'm riding the terrain, flying high up once again. Got my crew sitting healthy and my boo living wealthy. Level 99, never settle in my mind. So I pedal and I climb up the pedestal and find almighty weapon. So I calm, lightly step into the castle. Satchel, tackled, wrestled down the corridor where I'm grounded through the floor. Roundhouse into my core, down, out, and through the door. Sword down at my side, I gotta round up and ride. Face boss, break jaws till I take off. Face off, stop and swing my serious strike. This is it, take the title, disappear in the night. To the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole wide world. Slay the boss in the castle when we cross final battle. Then I walk out and travel to the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole wide world. Slay the boss in the castle when we cross final